Hello, everyone who's joining our webinar right now. We are going to wait just a moment, let a few more people come in before we start talking a little bit more in depth, but we're excited to see you guys here. We do have the chat open, so if you do have questions during the session, please feel free to send us a chat so we can talk a little bit more with you guys. But we're so excited that you took some time on a Tuesday to be able to just kind of join us, learn a little bit. All right, we do want to be mindful of time. So I know there's a few more people still trickling in, but thank you once again for joining us today. We do want to be mindful of the time and be able to ensure that you guys get some time back and are able to enjoy a little bit of lunch. Maybe you're eating while listening to this, which, hey, multitasking is amazing. But thank you again for joining us. My name is Heidi Waibel. I am one of the North Carolina SACAC Government Relation co-chairs here at Cannon School, and I'll let my other co-chair introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Robinette, and I am a counselor at Northeast Carolina Prep School, which is a K through 12 public charter school here in Tarboro, which is in Edgecombe County.
Awesome. And what we would love to do while we're just kind of waiting for just one or two more people to join us, and while we're just kind of getting to know each other as well, if you feel so inclined, if you're willing to, we would love for you to put in the chat just kind of where you're coming from and what type of school you might be at, whether it is a public high school, a private high school, a public or private university, whether you're an independent consultant. We recognize that North Carolina SACAC is made up of so many amazing individuals who come from such unique backgrounds. And what we find is that with SACAC GovRel, we love being able to hear from so many different backgrounds. We recognize that different populations are impacted in different ways by the government. And the more that we can learn from you guys, the better we can then advocate on behalf of North Carolina as a whole to SACAC as well as to our legislators. And some of what we want to do today is to be able to advocate for our students. And we all have different ways that we're going to be doing that. So if you're willing to kind of share a little bit about where you're coming from, because we know that there are people from different areas. I'm over in the Charlotte area, so a little bit further away. Love that Jessica's coming from Salisbury, not too far away from me, just down the road, which is great. But we love being able to kind of hear just from you guys in particular. And I know we have a few others coming in from all across the state, which is awesome. We love getting to understand who our constituents are. Jenny coming in from Durham. Jenny, you're awesome. I've been to some of her sessions and heard her speak before as well. So we have a good group in here. I love it. All right. And please feel free to use that chat in case you just have questions. You can send them to everyone, or you can send questions just to Amy and I as the panelists. We will be monitoring that throughout the entire webinar.
So Heidi and I serve as your North Carolina Government Relations co-chairs. And what that means is our job is to help SACAC members across North Carolina, which are school counselors, college counselors, admissions professionals, and just overall access partners, have a clear, credible voice with policymakers. Not a political voice, but a student-centered voice. And so that's kind of what our goal is for today, is just as an entry point. If advocacy feels new to you, that is completely okay. You don't need to know bill numbers. You don't need to be an expert in how the legislative process works. But what you guys have that sometimes legislators don't is a front row seat to how their policy decisions affect students, families, and institutions in real time. So, our goals today are pretty practical. First, we want you to pick a topic that connects to your work, something you've seen with your own eyes, something you've experienced. And then second, we want you to pick a topic that connects to your work. And then we'll help you find your legislators. So once you've found your topic, we're going to help you find your legislators so you know the who. And then third, and this is kind of the big one, is we want to challenge you to send at least one email today. It doesn't have to be a perfect message. It doesn't have to be a long message, but just one clear message with one clear ask. And so as we kind of transition, into this process, I'll say one more time, advocacy can sound and feel intimidating because people think a lot of times it has to be complicated. But this is not meant to be a complicated kind of process today. All we're looking for is a short, respectful message from you that includes your story. And I promise it's going to carry more weight than you realize.
And I love that. And I just want to second what Amy was saying because truthfully, advocacy, getting involved, it does sound like a scary thing and a big thing. And honestly, this is such a fantastic way just to take that one small way to impact and support our students and our communities. North Carolina, the country as a whole, and especially even North Carolina, there's a lot of uncertainty there. And obviously, it is a big day, as today is even primary voting in North Carolina, too. But there's a lot of different components that are impacting our students and our schools, and the state, even as a whole, has really struggled to pass even a full budget on time. And that just creates so much uncertainty. It makes it harder planning for schools and colleges with what's going to happen in the future. And so, really, tonight, all of these things are nonpartisan issues that we really want to address while we're together in this next little bit of time. Now, I know if you're like me, you might be wondering, what actually are some different advocacy ideas? Maybe you already have some on your mind, which is awesome, but you might also be coming in here going, well, yeah, I want to help, but I don't know where to start. So we wanted to provide several different ideas that you can actually take and run with. So if you haven't had an idea before, grab a pen and paper real fast. And as I'm putting these up there, feel free to jot down a couple of them as to what might be of interest to you.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to kind of go through some suggestions and some ideas about things you can talk about, but feel free to use the chat and put your own ideas or thoughts as I'm kind of going through this. But one of the primary ones that we were talking about is that North Carolina right now is the only state in the entire country that does not have a full state budget. And we all know that passing a state budget, as much as it means for the programs and all of the things that it supports, it truly just means stability. because when you have that full state budget, then you can speak with confidence about what we have and what's to come. And right now, without that state budget, there's a lot of uncertainty in the education realm right now. That includes everything from public program funding to staffing to student support services. And again, I think we can all agree that that uncertainty is always going to hit the families with the least margins first. Our rural families are going to feel this. And so that state budget is important. So one of the things that's just kind of a real example as you are drafting your letter and talking about things is that the North Carolina Scholarship for Children of Wartime Veterans, which is part of our state budget historically, received notification in spring of 2026 that their scholarship awards were prorated by 25% due to limited funding. So basically, that's a real funding shortfall in real time affecting real students who had made plans for assistance that now is not coming. And so just understanding that when we don't have a budget, it truly does have impacts and forces our families to kind of scramble, and students have to reconsider enrollment options. So the other one we talked about was preserve the federal interest in education. This sounds national, and it is, obviously, but it also affects local as well, because so many of our federal and local programs are deeply tied to college access. The financial aid process, student support programs, institutional capacity. NACAC has publicly raised concern about the efforts to shift or reorganize the education department through interagency agreements and what that could mean for stability in the education programs. So here, again, we're not asking you to speak partisan in any of this. This is just tell your story. Tell us what you see. Tell your legislators what you think about how we can keep the federal government stable. Dual enrollment clarity and what that looks like. Again, Career and College Promise is kind of the foundation for our dual enrollment system here in North Carolina. But most of us have had to untangle some kind of transcript at some point and look at how these courses count, what it looks like, and then you've had students who question, why didn't I get credit for, and how all of that looks. And there is currently some bills in the North Carolina legislation that aim to address how CCP courses count and how that aligns with high school and community college credit. So you don't have to know all the details of that, like that doesn't matter. But if this is something that you see or you understand or your students are struggling with, just making sure that we have a clear and consistent policy that protects our students and our institutions as we kind of go through this dual enrollment conversation. That's something that you may want to address in your letter. School calendar flexibility. So that is another one here that we're talking about. It sounds like logistics, but honestly, this impacts your instructional time, your testing windows. When you set as a higher an institute of higher learning, when you set your college visit days, how you organize your advising, what all of that looks like. There is a bill that is being looked at now that's going to address calendar flexibility for the public schools in North Carolina. And so if that is a concern of yours and you have an opinion about what this school calendar needs to look like and how that can help you, by all means, feel free to share that information. Increase in faculty support. So that is a big one, right? Like we all know that we need some more faculty and staff support. We definitely know that we need those people that are coming through. Um, Students don't just need programs. We talk about that a lot. They need people. They need counselors. They need advising. They need financial aid support, FAFSA support, admissions, college follow through. Those are the people that are going to help get our kids across the finish line. The American School Counselor Association recommends 250 to 1 student to counselor ratio. Many communities in North Carolina are exceeding that. We know that that's a concern. We know that there is staffing vacancies and positions that are not being filled for various reasons. And so just to explain or use this platform with your legislators to say, we've got to keep student support services as a priority as we go into this budget, because again, that matters all the way through as we look at these goals. Alternative pathways. Most of us are probably really good at kind of figuring out that. Once upon a time, everybody either went to, work or college or military, and it was very black and white, if you will. Now it's just there's a million ways to get to the same place, and that's pretty much what this conversation is about. If you choose to kind of embrace this advocacy idea, is understanding that there really is not a traditional route for every student at this point. With the addition of apprenticeships, with the credential pathways that the state has endorsed, when we have work-based learning options, we have, all kinds of flexible things that are happening in our education world, and making sure that those pathways are obtainable for all students is definitely a priority. Again, there's budget things that are in the works with that. You don't need to necessarily get involved in what legislative number that is, but just understand that it may be the pathway is still the four-year institution, but how they get there and what that looks like may be the thing that is going to help reduce some of those barriers for the kids that we're serving. College access. So that's another one here that we can talk about. We can talk about FAFSA. We can talk about completion rates for advising. We can talk about the summer melt that kind of happens with students in between that acceptance and enrollment, and how that works. A real statistic, if you want to kind of pull from that, My Future NC, the dashboard that is tracking our FAFSA completion, has a goal for the FAFSA completion. We are currently below that goal. So we have still in the state of North Carolina not reached the goal for FAFSA completion. We're at about 61%, and they want to be around 80%. And so if we're going to get there as a state, it happens in the small conversations that we do through our roles, to be completely honest with you. And so we've just got to make sure that we're advocating for and telling the stories about what's happening in those conversations. And then the last one that we kind of picked as kind of a topic is graduate loan limits. And this ties into the advanced degrees and the future workforce. Our teachers, our counselors, our nurses, clinicians, researchers, all of those people that need an advanced degree. The U.S. Department of Education has proposed changes that would limit graduate borrowing beginning July of 2026. And again, anytime you kind of limit the borrowing, we're going to go into or have an impact on who can complete these degrees and what that looks like. And so you may kind of be in that yourself. But the point of all of this is we want to keep graduate training affordable and workplace pipelines readily available for everybody. So those are kind of the topics that we kind of picked. But again, you're not limited to these.
And if you have other advocacy ideas, we would love to hear them. So always feel free to put those in the chat as well, everyone. But now that we've had a little bit of time to kind of learn about different advocacy issues, as we're kind of thinking about, okay, well, now I might have an idea as to what I want to write about, or I already came in with an idea as to what I want to write about. Now it's kind of that next step of just figuring out, well, who do I send it to? Who is the right person? And you do have a lot of options. There are state senators, House of Representatives, there's local offices. And really, there's no wrong answer as to who you want to reach out to. Each of these people should hear your voice. They should hear your concerns. That's the beauty of serving the public office is their role is to hear from you as one of their constituents. And one of the best ways to do this, there's a very helpful website that's listed on here. I'm about to send it in the chat as well in case you guys want to check that out. But, and let's see if I can do this right for everyone in here. There is, if you click that link, you'll actually be taken to the website that I just sent. And it's really easy. And I wanted just to be able to walk you guys through it. When you go straight to that website, it literally says, find your legislators. And all you need to know is your address. You can use your home address. You can use your the school or the place of employment's address. And I'll go ahead and do that. So for Cannon School, this is our address. It'll populate, and when you click that, it literally shows right there who my people are to be able to reach out to. You can click on those names and they'll take you to actually getting contact information, including the actual email address that you can use in today's activity. So it's a very simple process and you can decide who you want to reach out to, whether it's all of them as well, or if you just want to do one today and then maybe do more in the future. Again, I do want to recognize that today is primary voting. And so the people who are on this website right now, in another 6 months or so, the people might be different. But this is a great opportunity for you to recognize who is your local representative for District 73, for example. Well, this means that I can reach out now, but maybe later on I can go back and I can make sure, is this person the same individual? This website will be updated regularly as votes are counted later on in the year. And so this will be some place to come back to and some website that you have access to at any point in the future for any future advocacy or outreach that you want to do to any of your representatives. But this is just one of those fastest ways. If you want to take a moment, click on that link and be able to type in the address that you're using. And then that way you'll be all set when it comes time to officially write that email. And again, that link is in the chat. So if you don't see that website or that actual website anymore, you should be fine. If you need us to resend it, please feel free to ask in the chat and we will happily send it over. Now, as we start thinking about, okay, we have some ideas in mind as to what to advocate for. We've been able to go to the website and find our actual legislators. As we're about to get into writing the email, which we're actually even going to give you a whole outline for, there are a couple tips we wanted to give you before that took place. First of all, short and respectful. Makes it pretty easy. Remember that just like all of us, the legislators are busy people. And so we don't want to have a super long narrative. We want to kind of be short. We want to be respectful. Again, we're a nonpartisan organization. And then make sure it's personal. There's something about when you get that message and it has a personal connection to who you are, your lived experience, your students' lived experience that really comes through so much and can make such a huge impact. So we do recommend just a couple little things. Keeping it short and respectful also makes it pretty easy for you to send multiple emails as time goes on and as advocacy topics come to mind. And then just to feel that empowerment of your own voice. There is something so strong about sharing what matters to you and what matters for your students. And I think that's the reason that Amy and I are co-chairs and why you all joined the session today is because you do want to empower your voice and you want to empower your students' voices as well. So those are a couple tips as we're about to write those emails.
Okay, so now we're going to write. So this is the fun part. And again, if you can write 5 sentences, we can do this. This is a pretty short kind of template, if you will, that you can follow. Um, the first sentence just needs to be who you are. Tell who you are. I am, this role serving students in this community. What does that look like to you? And again, like for me, I am in a Tier 1 county, which is one of the most economically disadvantaged in the entire state of North Carolina. We typically flop between the bottom of the list and the second to the bottom of the list. Um, at the lowest, most economically disadvantaged. I have a large minority population in our school. And so just a simple sentence that just says, hey, I'm Amy. This is where I'm at, and this is the perspective with which I'm talking to you from. So something that simple, that would be sentence number one. Number two sentence would be, and I'm writing to you about this issue. And again, we gave you a list of issues that you could pick from, but if none of those feel right to you, pick an issue that does feel right or feels relevant to the people you're serving. Um, and then tell what you're seeing. This is what I'm experiencing from my kids. This is what I'm experiencing in my job, in my community. And just tell your story. The next sentence would be, just give an example of what that looks like. It can be a short story, but it can be a factual example, whatever it is that just says, this is the real boots on the ground reason why this matters. And then the last thing is just kind of wrap it up with your ask. Please, will you pass a state budget? Will you please make college access a priority, in this next legislative cycle? Whatever it is that you are asking them for, just clearly articulate that in your letter. You don't have to cover everything. It doesn't have to be super long. It doesn't have to be like all these, big educated words, but something as simple as, Dear Senator, I'm a school counselor at East High School located in hometown North Carolina. I'm writing to urge North Carolina to pass a full state budget. When the budget isn't finalized, college affordability programs become unstable and students make enrollment decisions without knowing what help will actually be there. Recently, students who qualified for a Children of Veterans Scholarship saw their award cut by 25% because the program didn't receive the expected funding. Families had to scramble mid-semester to cover the gap or reconsider enrollment plans. Here's my ask. please pass a state budget, but please pass a state budget and fully fund the student financial aid commitments already promised so North Carolina students can plan, enroll, and stay in college without surprise shortfalls. Most sincerely, Amy Robinette.
Sounds simple, right, everyone? And it really is that simple. So now's our time where we want you guys to be able to take action. And I know we're not all together. We can't support each other physically. We can't give each other a high five in person. But this is the time where we want you to open up your email if you haven't already. Go back to that link earlier that I sent with finding your legislators and start writing an email as simple as those 5 sentences. And so we're going to give you guys a couple minutes to do so. And as you do so, we have up here on the slide just those couple takeaways as well. Finding your legislator. And remember, there are multiple people that you could reach out to, and it's really, truly whoever you want to reach out to. And then we have that breakdown, those 5 different sentences and topics to be able to cover in that short email. And just those few reminder tips, keeping it short and respectful, avoiding those long narratives, but really making sure you're taking something personal to them. So we are going to hang out for another minute or two. We do have one more ask, so please don't leave us quite yet, as we do want to get a little bit of feedback from you guys as well. But we want to give you this time, if you haven't already, to start thinking about that topic and putting that email together. So while you're doing this, we want to just remind you and talk back about some of those different things as you're putting your emails together. And again, as always, if you have questions or ideas, thoughts, or if you have your own advocacy idea, you can share it in the chat with everyone in the group. And we'd love to hear from you guys. But hopefully you're opening up your email and typing your legislators' contact information in there. And again, remember, there's so many different things. We talked about passing the North Carolina state budget. We're thinking about college access opportunities, what those programs look like, the pathways that students take to higher education in our state. I think all of us working in higher education would love some more increased faculty and staff support. I'll always will back that one up, making sure that we're really being clear and kind and understanding what our students are facing as we're trying to think about what the future might hold for them in this world of uncertainty. Whatever stability that we can provide for our students, whatever opportunities and access we can provide for our students, is going to strengthen North Carolina as a whole. And that's really the message that we want to get across to our legislators. How can we make North Carolina stronger? How can we support this next generation coming up? How can we really ensure that we're going to have the best future in this state possible? So hopefully you guys have used some of this time to be able to write that email and incorporate a little bit of those personal stories that really resonate with you. I think we've all had students who have tugged at our heartstrings, who we've helped support in various ways. And those stories, those messages are really what will make an impact in the future with the legislators as well. So share those stories, everyone, for sure.
As you are kind of sending your letter or you've found your people, if you'll do a thumbs up in the chat, that'll just help us kind of know um, that you have submitted your letter or made that step, if you will.
All right, awesome. All right, a last couple reminders and links that we have for you guys, and then we'll send you back out there into the regular day. So a couple reminders here and a couple of links that I just posted in there is that advocacy doesn't have to stop with just one email. Feel free to be able to go back, send future emails as more topics come to mind. You can send multiple emails. You can actually send real letters. If you're like me, I love actually handwriting something down, putting it in the mail. I feel like there's so much emphasis in that. So you can always do that. Or you can also call the offices. Again, that website will provide all of that contact information for you. We also do have a one pager that we can provide you if you want more information or if you just want a few more details as well. And then a couple links that we just shared in there. We would love to collect more information from you, your stories, the things that matter most to you. Because again, we all come from different backgrounds. We all work in different locations with different populations. And so gathering the impact stories really helps us out in the sense of knowing what matters most to North Carolina across the board. Where can we advocate for you and for your students? So please feel free to use that first link for your impact story capture. And then, secondly, a little request from us in particular. We would love to get your own feedback as well. Was this helpful? Had you ever done this before? How could we further expand on it? All of those feedback ideas that you have, we do want to hear. And so if you could take that second link, it's only about 2 minutes, so that one will be pretty fast, and be able to complete that for us, that would be absolutely amazing. But we do appreciate that you guys did join us today.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. I hope it was informative. You're not seeing the links.
Oh no.
It's gonna say there. If you scroll right above, do you see them?
I just tried sending them again to, let me actually, here we go. Hopefully you should see those now, be able to click on those links. There we go. So please feel free to click on that link. Again, that first one will take you ever so slightly longer, but that one really does matter quite a bit. And then that second one just gives us that feedback. If you're going to the SACAC conference, we would love to be able to connect with you there. Normally there is a presentation from GovRel as a whole, not North Carolina specifically, but GovRel as a whole. They would love to be able to connect with you there. I'm going to try and be at that session as well. So if you're able to go there, I would love to say hi in person while at that conference or at different events throughout the state. Amy and I are kind of in those two different sides of the state. So if you happen to be in either one of our locations and would like to connect at a different event or just shoot us an email so we can connect more, we're also happy to do that as well. But thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the day, everyone. This will end our webinar.